100 years ago. I mean, the thoughts of someone having a mobile phone, that would be alien technology.
Yeah.
I mean, so we are using alien technology. I mean, it's alien to our forefathers,
Mm.
and we're using it today.
Yeah. You've got
Sure.
a question for Kerry?
Yeah, Kerry, a question here from Anne. Thanks for the question, Anne. Could you ask Kerry if she thinks disclosure is being dribbled out because if it came in a more upfront way at this time, it would cause a tipping point for collective consciousness that would begin to sweep the NWO away at an unprecedented rate?
There's a big question for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and well put. I would say the question. Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt whatsoever that, in fact, the fact that Camelot has existed for over 5 years and that we have gotten the information out there that we have is a pure indication that the powers that be have allowed it to happen, at least to some degree. Now, that doesn't mean they're happy about it necessarily all in every way, and they have messed with us sufficiently to indicate that we have opposition, let's say. But yes, I mean, if you look across the board in everything that's being released at this time, even in the major media, you occasionally are getting stories such as the discovery recently of 17 so-called pyramids under the ground in Egypt. This kind of a revelation will have been known to the powers that be for probably years, if not longer. However, they release this stuff in dribs and drabs to gradually wake up the populace, because you've got to also keep in mind that they're part of the planet, all right? And therefore, for them to deal with the planet that's living thousands of years back in time from their perspective, because of what they know, because they have been let in to a lot of secrets that the ET contact has given them. And in some cases, governments obviously are working hand in hand with these ET groups. You have to understand that they are, in essence, a renegade society. And it's very difficult for them to continue to operate and even communicate with everyday reality, just as it's very difficult for Camelot, people like us that are as awake as we are, to deal with people that have no clue whatsoever. So it's to everyone's benefit that the individuals of the earth wake up. Now, the Illuminati have a sort of a tough love approach to that, and that would be a nice way of putting it. But in essence, what they do is make it as hard as possible for individuals to wake up. The other thing is that they use a negative path to do that process, which involves things like torture and black magic and so on, which they use on their members as well as people that sort of stumble on their path. Let's put it that way. So. In essence, yes, it is to their benefit to wake people up, but not too quickly. And the other thing is, Camelot is actually working to wake them up a hell of a lot quicker. And I have to say that we're being very, very successful. It is frightening at this moment to the powers that be that we have been as successful as we have been. And that's not just Camelot, it's many, many people like yourselves and like other organizations that are out there every day, pursuing the truth and pursuing sort of enlightenment, for lack of a better word, or getting the word out in terms of what the game here is really all about on Earth. And so, in the end, yes, the raising of consciousness becomes a sort of a force of its own to be reckoned with. And that is what the powers that be are dealing with right at this time, because just by virtue of being awake, you change the nature of reality around you, because you won't stand for the lies. You don't, they don't have any power over you. And once that happens, the Illuminati has to sort of work at double speed to try to confuse you and to try to keep their power over, because that's always their objective, is power over. And that's the sort of key thing to keep in mind.
And I think there has been an escalation. I've seen an escalation, and the speed up of trying to bring in certain rules and regulations and laws since early 2001 when I woke up and I started studying this and getting into it. The question that we have for you as well, one of the people on our chat facility said, can you talk more about the fourth dimension and what do you mean by this?
Oh, sure. Well, okay, first of all, I encourage you to go on my blog because recently somebody actually asked me that question. So I did sort of outline a couple of clear signs that you're dealing with what in essence is the fourth dimension, and we're going to move into the fifth as well, and that's going to be a whole nother ball game. And you can read about this as well on the net, but I did put sort of outline some various things on my blog recently because someone else asked me that question, and you can see there. I mean, again, when I say the fourth dimension, you have to understand that there are multiple dimensions existing simultaneously, along with what we call the 3D, which is sort of this hard, fast Earth that we see around us. As we move into the fourth dimension, things become lighter. Material reality is much more, I don't know if translucent is exactly the word, but it's more malleable. In other words, what you think will materialize before you much quicker. And many people will see that happening in their lives right here and right now. And what that means is that is an indication that you are part of, the fourth dimension, that you're tripping into it, that that the earth herself is there. And so all you have to do is kind of make use of that energy. And that means that sooner think something, but something will materialize in your reality, and therefore you must be careful of what you think. The other thing is simply being able to see the ether, use what's called etheric sight. I've had etheric sight since I was in my early 20s. A lot of people don't know what that is and don't talk about it, but basically what it means is you are able to see the ether, this space around us that Pete Peterson, and I highly recommend his interview, Dr. Pete Peterson, very, very long interview that we did, and David Wilcock also helped interview him on our website. But at any rate, he calls it the information field. So if you want a more scientific word for it, that's what it's called. But it is the field all around us, the consciousness field that is generated by humanity and by all the plants and animals makes up what in essence is the field of around the earth and of consciousness. And that energy, or that soup that surrounds us, and that even in the early 19th century they referred to as ether. Having etheric sight means that you can see into the ether, you can perceive presences, you can see, being able to see like that is an interesting dynamic. It happens as a result of meditation that opens up certainly the third eye, and allows you to see reality from a different perspective of just your material eyes. And it also allows you, it's a way of looking at, you can kind of look at the space in front of you and start to see it. And it's a lot like the Matrix. In other words, I have seen reality melt almost exactly like the Matrix movie, where you see all those numbers and they start bleeding and they start breaking down. It's fascinating.
So what you're seeing is energy.
Yes,
yeah.
but it's a special kind of energy, and it is the energy that makes up our reality.
Yeah. Okay, well that's fantastic. We have more questions for you here on the chat facility. Another one here was, please ask Kerry which of her interviews shocked her the most.
Oh God, I guess we've been asked that before, and it's kind of funny. First of all, I have to say that I'm not trying to sound egotistical here, but I came onto the planet. I did not have any question whatsoever as to other realities. That was never a question for me. I was immediately aware of other realities, which many kids are. It's just that I never lost that, and it stayed with me. And so being shocked, it's hard to shock me. I have to be honest. And it's always been a little hard to shock me because I entertain almost everything. And part of that is because I was also highly imaginative and highly creative. And if you're like that, and for example, if you watch movies like I was out of the country during the release of Priest, which isn't the best movie in the world, and people will be probably surprised because of its overly sort of emphasis on the cross and religion and all this nonsense. But nonetheless, there are some great sort of principles being addressed in that movie. And one of the things is that, there's nothing outside the realm of imagination that I don't think is possible to have to be in your reality. And so I don't have trouble with stories that people bring me, or, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't mean I believe everything, but what it does is it means that I will entertain it. I will consider it. And I think an open mind is really vital at this time on the planet, because first of all, human beings have been so downgraded and so lied to that what we call scientists and people that are so-called in positions of authority often don't know anything. I mean, they know so little that children know far more than they do. This is my point of view. So I have never bowed to authority, and that's since I was a kid. In fact, I used to get in trouble for that. I used to talk back to my parents all the time, and my mother used to call me know-it-all. So I can't tell you that I was blown away by any of the interviews I have done. What I have done was be very pleased to hear people talking about these things in the real world, and to hear people from Black projects verifying information that I had known or come across, et cetera, et cetera. So that was really wonderful. Let me think if there's any, particular person that, said anything that outlandish that it blew me away.
Well, I'll leave it with you, and you can have a think about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't say. I can give you highlights as to some of the top information that people gave us, and so if you want me to do that, I'll do that.
Yeah, are you okay, or do you want to take a little break, or are you okay to carry on?
I'm fine, whatever your deal is.
Yeah, no, it's just what you're saying. The information that you're coming out with is so interesting that we just want to carry on with you. But obviously, we're trying to think of you as well. If you want to take a little break, or we can go to a musical break if you want.
No, at the moment I'm fine.
You're fine. Okay.
Okay. Can I throw another question at Kerry?
Oh, okay. Another one.
A question in here from one of our listeners on the chat box. Hutch wants to know. Can we ask Kerry, do you think as our light increases and the cabal weakens, by the time we understand their plans, they will be irrelevant? Isn't it more important to focus on raising our frequency as high as possible?
Okay, well, that's interesting, because a lot of people kind of think that. There are a lot of people out there that really want to really go down the road of creating the new world rather than focusing on, let's say, the old. But from our point of view in Project Camelot, I don't think it's kind of relies on the notion that if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. That notion. So in creating a new world, I think it's vital that you understand the nuts and bolts of what has happened here on the planet and what you've been a part of. Whether or not you want to change it, that's awesome. And, of course you can put your energy and spend a certain amount of time, as you say, raising your frequency. But raising your frequency is also becoming awake and aware of everything going on the planet at this time, and what has been and will be. In other words, all of it. So that what we do as Project Camelot is, in my view, the ABCs of getting down to raising your frequency. And there are very few people that are beyond that information, I have to say. And when it gets into the more sophisticated aspects, that's also because in so-called raising your frequency, you are becoming more of a being to be reckoned with. Therefore, your responsibility increases. Therefore, you need to know who the so-called enemies or obstacles are to the progress of other humans. So it's not just about you yourself going into, going away on a mountain, raising your frequency, so to speak. It's beyond that. It's vital that we as humanity enlighten and wake up each other, as well as look after the people that have not necessarily gotten to the same state as